Hi guys, this is Kayla Cox with The Unfiltered Lens, and today I'm here with Katrina Molinix, my very good friend from high school. Obviously, life kind of happened, college happened, school, jobs,
Yes.
everything happened. You want to tell us, kind of what happened right after high school, where you went?
So I graduated high school. I ended up going down to Palm Beach Atlantic University. There I did kind of I went for nursing. That was the track that I had applied for and started in. All my prereqs were done. I ended up not doing as well as I thought I was going to do.
Those prereqs will kick your butt right there.
I had a very, very hard time I'm a very much of a, if it's meant to be, it'll be kind of person.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I just and obviously I had the party scene. I went through.
You got the college experience and got the beach and everything about it.
It was a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong, beautiful place. It was a private Christian school, so it came with the price tag of a private Christian school. But I thankfully ended up with all the money that I get from my dad's GI Bill and all that stuff. I ended up leaving with little to no debt, which was nice.
Yeah, so you got that experience and without having the price tag on it, which I think is very important for kids to think about. If you want to get that experience for a year, think about it, but
wisely.
Do it somewhere that you can pay for, that you won't be paying off 90 grand in debt for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and so that was good. I met all kinds of different people from different places. It was one of those schools that we had a lot of international students. So I met a lot of people from Germany, from France, from a lot of different places.
That's
a lot
awesome,
of different. I genuinely had a good time. The schooling, I guess I should say, not necessarily the school. The schooling was so beyond difficult for me.
Yeah. Because you were nursing prereqs, correct?
Yeah.
The whole year you were there?
Yeah. So I was taking, and there it was an accelerated prereq program. So for the nursing, so I had all my prereqs in 1 year, and then I did the TEAS test, the admissions process, everything for the nursing program, the end of the first year. Yeah, and come second semester, and it's one of those kinds of things where with the GI Bill I had to have a certain GPA to be able to get that money anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't just the pressure of getting a good grade in the class, it was getting my school paid for at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was insane. That was an insane amount of pressure.
Yeah, because it's oh my gosh, this debt could be really huge.
Follow it for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And so come second semester, I just had it. I was so burnt out. I was hours and hours at the library studying from literally waking up, going to class, going to bed. I was studying.
Yeah.
And obviously it was extremely, extremely difficult. And I was never in high school. I was never a B student. If I got a B in a class, my mom would celebrate for me. I was just always one of those, I took PE 4 times throughout high school. It was just one of those things that I have always struggled with schooling. And so come second semester, I was tapped. I was ready to be done.
You're I don't know if this is for me, but right now it's not feeling like it.
Yeah. And so I came to a point at Christmas where I sat down, had
after your first semester?
Yeah.
Okay.
Had a heart-to-heart conversation with my mom about whether or not I should come home at semester. And that was a very, very hard conversation to have because I went into it super excited, I loved Florida. I've always loved Florida, from family vacations when I was little. I've always loved Florida.
Well, it's hard too because again, I from, when Katrina went to college, it was you see her from a distance, you see her social media and you're like, oh, she looks like she's having so much fun. But it's just social media is such a borderline thing it's always so much deeper than that. And that's what, it's hard to think about is that someone else's life might look so perfect from the outside.
Yeah.
But they might be struggling with so much on the inside. And school is hard, and it's hard to make that decision of like, is it worth it? Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I killing myself over some tests and exams that I don't even feel passionate about? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But that conversation, especially with your loved ones or your parents about like, I don't know if this is right for me, is probably one of the toughest things, especially because not all parents are like, okay, like, let's find something else. A lot of parents are like, no, it should be right for you. Like, you picked that and you need to follow through because you're already a year into it. So, but how was that talk with your mom? It was,
she's always been a very supportive, I love my mother dearly.
Yeah.
She's always been super supportive. And so when she'd get those phone calls of me I'm sure it was late here because it was late there. And I just in tears, and I know it absolutely broke her heart. Like, so for me to have finally gotten up the courage to sit down and say, this is not working for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So she at one point called me and said, I will buy you a plane ticket if you are ready to come home. Like, I will get you on a plane. We will get you here. And that was kind of a moment for me where it really came down to what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
because she was so ready to get me back, and not in a way of, I mean, every mother's going to be
exactly
when your kid goes out of state. But I think it came from a perspective of she had seen me struggling for so long that she was just so gung-ho ready to get me somewhere safe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so Katrina and I had talked about in my last podcast episode, and we were very similar in a way that we both went pre-medical sort of in our first year of college, and I was the same way. I was home with my family in community college, but I had nights where I just felt like I studied so much. Like, I worked so hard, and I'm not a test taker. That's never been me. It doesn't matter how long I study for, how many different ways I study. That wasn't for me. And I had like come to my parents so many times that like just bawling my eyes out. Like, what am I doing wrong? No one's helping me. Like, I'd go to tutoring, go to my teachers, and it just, nothing would stick. Like, my teacher didn't have the best teacher. She was like, I'm doing all of these things. She's like, oh, you're doing everything right. And I'm like, why am I still not doing good? I'm like, okay. And so it was just hard to, even though I was here with my parents, but you still have those conversations with them that's just like, this sucks. And I'm like so unhappy. I feel like I'm at my lowest, but you still gotta like dig yourself out of the semester and kind of figure it out. And then you're at the end of the semester and you're like, do I want to do that again? Like, with harder classes, like, how am I feeling? And that's where you kind of sit down and you're like, I don't know, because it's very discouraging, especially after doing a year. And if you were in an accelerated program that you've taken even more classes, more credits. And it's just hard to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to get a degree. Like, my biggest thing was that I didn't want to get a degree in something that I wasn't going to love forever. So tell me about how you're switching.
So I ended up coming home after my first year. I completed second semester, came home. I am now going to community college.
Mm-hmm.
I went through first semester of community college doing pre-med.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had come to a point that I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to do RN or if I just wanted to stick with CNA. And I actually ended up, so my mom's best friend is a labor and delivery nurse. And that she's done that for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And so her and I did a lot of communicating through that first semester of me being back, just because I felt like I needed a little bit of guidance from someone who had already gone through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was super, super, like, I was for sure this is what I was supposed to do. Even through high school, like, you and I both pre-med.
You don't have, when you think you want to do something, you don't have, especially if you feel like you had your family friend that was close to you that did that, and you see them love it and you're like, I could do that and I could love it. And for me, it was my mom, and she's been happy doing it for forever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, she's happy, and I want to help people, and I want to do that. And then it's like, when you have a second thought about that and you're not sure, it just feels like you're like, I've only thought of this. Like, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So you talked to this family friend.
So she had said she finally had come to a point after numerous phone calls of me calling her. She finally said, she was like, this is not a career where you can even be a little unsure of it. She just had said, like, with the commitment and everything that you have to put into somebody else in that situation, for you to be unsure of what you're doing can be drastic in that situation. And so I kind of came to a point where I was thinking, well, maybe doing like phlebotomy or radiology or doing still something in the medical realm, just not necessarily nursing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had, to the point where I had like put down a deposit on a phlebotomy class for every other Saturday of the month. Like, everything that had come straight out of my pocket, that did not come from anybody else. My parents. My whole big thing through all of it was that I wanted to do it by myself. I wanted to contribute the money. I wanted to
do it by yourself.
Do it by myself. Yeah, like carve my own
my own path. Yeah.
And then as I was sitting down to register for classes for my second semester, I literally, for some reason, you popped into my head, and when I texted you, and I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, that's funny because you weren't the only friend that has come to, and I don't know what it was. I don't feel like I marketed the fact that I changed my degree. I don't know how. I can't remember how you
I didn't know that you changed your degree. That's why I had texted you, because I had thought that you were still doing nursing.
Oh, yes.
And so you
I was like, girl, who do you think I am? No. Yeah. And it wasn't even, like, I feel like I could have, like, if my heart was in it, I could have done it. But my heart wasn't in it, and I literally felt like I was depressed. I was like, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. And, like, for me, it was like, I had counselors like, oh, you look like an English major. And I was like, I just take English classes as electives because they were easy for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm trying to do, like, I would do like 1 or 2 pre-nursing program classes, and then the rest would pretty much be English outside of like gen ed stuff. And so that, just hearing them say that, as I was just like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to do nursing, but I do, you do enjoy that, like, those other subjects, or you're trying to put your heart into something, or your brain into something that your heart isn't into, and it feels forceful.
Yeah.
And so when you texted me, and then I had another friend text me and ask similar things, like, I don't know if I'm meant for this, and it's just like, oh, I'm so glad you came to me because I have so much to say about it. And I think a lot of people now think that you need to do something that society thinks you should do.
Yeah.
And which some people, that works for them. Yeah. But personally, like, a lot of people, some family friends of mine think that, you get a job that pays you what you want to live with, and you live with that money, and you go have fun with that money. You may not like your job, but, like, it gives you money to go do what you want.
Right.
And I don't agree with that. I do not like that. I want to go to work, and I want to enjoy what I do. And that was a big thing for me, because it was really difficult to, like, sit down after I had, like, I don't really want to do nursing. I don't think I want to do medical at all, but it's just like, I've thought of this for so long. What else am I supposed to do? And it was just like, I don't know. I'm not, like, super, super passionate about anything besides I would do English classes. Yeah. And then it was like, I don't really know what I would do with an English degree, even though your degree is in English. But
we can talk about that later. But
I was just like, I don't know what I would do. And so it took a lot of me sitting there in just feeling awful and just like, I don't know. Like, I had no idea. And so once I had figured it out and done my own research and some career tests, I know I've praised that a lot on this channel, but I literally do. Take the career test, take the personality test, and just look at them. Talk to someone about your results, because it's very important, and I think that it's a way to learn about yourself, like facts, things that you didn't know about yourself, that your brain doesn't just like, oh, I'm very organized. Like, sometimes you know those things, or I'm a strategic thinker, or whatever. But those are good things to look at. And then, I don't know, it's really difficult. So after I figured that out, and I had you and another friend come to me and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. Like, tell me anything. And I was like, it just had felt like, okay, I wasn't alone. Like, I wasn't alone in this decision. And I knew I hadn't quit, like, nursing or medical anything because it was hard. It was just, well, it was hard. But I also was just like, I don't know if I can do this forever. Yeah. And that was the most difficult part, is that, like, more generalized, like, English degree or communications or business, there's so many things you can do within it that for me, I would never get bored of. Yeah. If I get bored of something, I can switch to something else in my degree. Yeah. But if you're something specific in medical, then
you're kind of limited.
That's it. Like, that's what you got. Yeah. And besides, if you don't want to do that anymore, then you have nothing. Yeah. So that felt like someone was kind of holding me down. Yeah. I was like, no, I don't. I need something else. And so having you guys come to me and, like, show me that you needed help in that way too. This is also a big reason as to why I wanted to start this podcast too, is because I felt extremely lost by myself, and I know you guys did too. Yeah. And then I realized that I was not alone. You're never, just because you might want to change your major and you might be a year and a half into it, that it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not.
And you do, once you finally make that decision, I'll let Katrina talk to you about that. Because she texted me, and this was when you thought I was still doing nursing stuff. And
so I texted Kayla and I just said, I don't know what to do. I am at a loss. I've been sitting here trying to figure out what courses to take. Nothing sounds appealing to me. I was a lot like you, in the sense that you had said that a lot of the other classes you had taken were English courses. Yeah. Whereas I'm very good at writing papers. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at testing.
That's exactly. I would rather write a 10-page paper than take a final exam.
Yes, me too.
I can't do it.
No, me neither. And I actually, a couple years, maybe my senior year, so almost 3 years ago now, when we started senior year, I fell in love with reading. Mm-hmm. Everything from anything. Like,
see, I think that's the English major in me, is that I'm not as big of a reader. I have read a couple books, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to do this every day. It's sometimes just like, I need to finish that book sometime soon. Yeah. But that's where I think English fits you more, is that you're more of the creative mind of writing, and I'm more of, like, I like to write about things that are happening, or like more journalism, like real, and you're more creative writing. Oh yeah. And that's, I think, a big difference between us and why we chose our majors.
For sure. But so then I literally, maybe a couple days later, maybe 2 days later, you had called me. And after we hung up the phone, I literally went on my student portal and changed my degree to English.
What do you think I said to you that you were just like, that's it, I'm switching?
I feel like it was a lot of it. I needed someone else to say that it was okay to do it. Yeah. And not that I had heard that it's not okay. Yeah. I never necessarily heard that you can't change your major because you've already started. That wasn't necessarily my experience, but I think I was so dead straight on this path. Yeah. That to hear somebody else say it is okay to change your mind.
Yeah. And I think the fact that I was there and I did it and I feel better is that you were like, okay, I see it and I believe it because you're talking to me, and it's not just like, oh, you've heard people change their majors, but you don't really talk to a lot of people that change their majors. Most people a lot of people, I feel like once you meet them in college, they're going to college for that, and that's what they graduate with. At least I personally haven't met a lot of people besides you and another friend that changed their major. But I don't know. I didn't realize that the phone call that you right after you were like, no, I'm done.
And I had zero conversations with anybody but you about it that night. Like, I went on, changed my major. The next morning, I went upstairs and I was like, Mom, I did a thing. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I changed my major. And it was the reaction, not only the reaction that I had got from you from the phone call, but then the reaction from her that was comforting.
Yeah.
From someone who had done it and from somebody who was in my close circle.
Yeah, exactly.
That was supportive and just said, if this is what you want to do, I think you will be amazing at it.
Yeah. Well, and I think even that, like with my parents, they had, I had cried to them about this. I had talked to them about this, about how much I've struggled, and you did the same thing with your mom. And so once you finally, like, you have to find your path on your own.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out on your own. But once you come to your parent, like with my parents, I thought that they weren't going to really accept me for anything but medical, which was really hard. But once they saw me struggle with it so much and talk to them about it so much, that once I, heard other majors in a job that I was interested in, they saw the light bulb, and it instantly, like, they didn't care.
Yeah.
And that's how I think most parents, all parents should be.
Yeah.
Not all parents are, but I think that's how it should be, is as long as your child has, like, even for viewers that are watching that are not in college, this is very important. If you have a child that's going through this, that you just need to kind of let them struggle in their own area and be there.
Yeah.
Like, once because you can see it. You can see that, your overall aura is changed.
Yeah.
And that's how mine was. And my mom, like, I could hear her on the phone talking to her sister and my grandma, and she's like, I feel like a light bulb just went on with her. Like, she sounds so much better and she seems so much happier. And it just makes, it makes me feel happy, because it's like, I don't see myself and I don't see how my mood physically changes from an outside. To hear that I'm like, I'm like, man, like, I do feel better, and I'm glad other people are realizing.
Yeah.
And it's just very nice to hear from, especially from your parents.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That was a big, what would you say, after all of these changes, going through a year and a half of college and changing your major, what would you tell your high school self to just...
I would probably say... I feel as though coming out of high school, you think you know everything. And once you get out there,
so real.
And then once you get a job right out of high school and start your first year of college,
the real world is harsh.
Yes. Like, you finally realize that, oh my gosh, my world was not only in the four walls of my high school. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Holy crap. So just prepare yourself is probably what I would say.
Yeah. Your brain doesn't stop growing until you're like 25. So just know that you're going to change, and
for sure,
kind of accept it.
Yeah. Yes. And it's just very important. Don't feel limited.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can do. So many things. It is overwhelming, and you will think it's overwhelming, but as long as you are happy, and
I think that's all that matters too. Don't do what society tells you to do. Do what makes you happy. You'll figure out what to do with money.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing, is that, I never wanted to work.
Yeah.
I wanted to work and enjoy what I did. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for some people to understand.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to do what society tells you to do, or what your parents tell you to do. Just do what makes you happy. And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. But thank you for coming on here today with me.
Of course. It was so good. I literally watched one of these episodes about 2 weeks ago, and I literally texted you, and I'm going to say this to everybody. I texted her, and I was like, this was crazy, because if I had this after I graduated my senior year, I feel like I would have been a lot more open-minded.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.